All right, it says we're live. I just want to welcome everybody to the ScrappyDew live show. Today we're going to be talking about the Cricut Explore and the Print the Then Cut feature that has been added, as well as Julie. We have a special guest here, Julie. She's going to be going over the Cricut Explore, some of the tests that she ran, and with the whole cutting with the program and usage. So she put through the test. This lady has over 12 cutting machines. She knows how to test these machines. I'm going to let the panel down here that you see down here introduce himself. So I'm going to start with Christopher Allen Designs. He's been a Cricut beta tester for Cricut, so he's very familiar with the print then cut and all the new features that they have added. So go ahead, Christopher Allen. Let everyone know who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Allen with Christopher Allen Designs, and like Rob said, I have been a beta tester for Cricut for about, I'd say, 2.5 months now, and I've been able to try out the print then cut feature since the very, very, very early stages, and it has come an extremely long way, and I'm excited to talk about all of the new features that they kind of hinted upon in their hangout.
All right.
And answer tons of questions.
Yes. Ken is actually away on some sort of sabbatical, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Yes, he may be. He'll be joining us next week. So he had to skip out this week, but he wishes that he could make it. We also have Michelle Mybell, who's been with ScrappyDew, like I said, for 10 years, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey everyone, I'm Michelle, and you can find my blog at michellebellcreations.com, and I'm also a design team leader at ScrappyDew.
All right, and our very, very special guest that's joining us. She joined us about a month ago. She talked about the Pazzles Vue, and we invited her back again because she said that she's able to come, and she decided to review the Cricut Explore. So go ahead and, Julie, introduce yourself. Tell people where they can find you. I guess you have a group out there on Yahoo, as well as a YouTube channel.
Yes, I'm Julie, commonly known as Crafty Musician, because I'm a musician, but I love cutters, and I have my 13th cutter on the way. I haven't got it yet, but I do have MTC Toots Yahoo group with lots of tutorials there for anybody interested in that software, and a YouTube channel that has some good videos on SVG files and how to use them in different software. So I'm looking forward tonight.
All right. Yeah, she said that she's divided up this her overview into what categories did you have for us?
I have the good, the bad, the ugly, and the lovely.
All right. So that's what we got to look forward to. Before we dive into her testing and stuff, I did want to sort of explain how this Hangout and stuff works. Okay. So basically, you guys can go ahead and type below wherever you're watching this, YouTube or the event page, and we are tracking them. So we can actually bring them up, like this right here. We have this person right here. They're saying hello, everyone, down here from NZ. Let's see. Someone else commented on here. They wanted to, good evening, folks. What were the results from those baby pictures? So last week we had all these baby photos, and I wanted to go ahead and share a screen with you, and so we can go over this. I'm sorry that I didn't get them to you, but we were running short on time, and I was just in a hurry. So this first baby picture was Christopher Allen there. This one was Ken. This one over here was Michelle. And this last one here was me. As you can see,
I love that.
I was very happy to get that photo taken. All right. So those are your results. I apologize. All right. Yeah. So feel free to comment. We also are trying this new thing out where you guys can actually call live. There's a phone number right down there, 801-896-1169. That will get you through to Skype. If you have Skype, you can call, or you can do a search for Rob at ScrappyDew.com. You can get us that way as well, and that way you guys can talk live, ask your questions live via voice instead of typing it out. So we're trying that out for the first time. Feel free to give us a call. And I thought there was one more thing that I wanted to go over, but it's about the delay. So if you're calling in, we're going to be about 30 to 60 seconds ahead of what you are seeing. And if you do decide to call in, make sure you push pause on the video. That way we're not getting any feedback delay loops, okay? All right. So let's start off with Cricut. Cricut put out they had a hangout today. So let's talk about that hangout there, Christopher Allen. What did they talk about?
Really, they just talked. I only saw bits and pieces of it. I actually watched it while I was at work today. Don't tell anyone. And so basically they were talking a little bit about the new features that will be coming out in I think they're calling it like the 2.0 launch that should launch hopefully early 2015. They are going to be adding a pattern fill, which is super, super exciting. A pattern fill, just a brief kind of description of what that is you'll be able to fill squares, circles, triangles, different types of shapes, as well as text with patterns that you import into the Design Space software. It's very similar to what we are able to do now currently with the Silhouette software. You can drag in a pattern and you can fill in, and that was kind of the big chunk that I had seen today.
All right. Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and dig into Julie's test. So if you would, Julie, you can go ahead and share your desktop or share your screen, and that way we can see what you're talking about. And I'll be in the background monitoring questions along with Michelle and Christopher Allen.
Well, I forgot how to share my screen. How do I do that?
All right, so if you move your mouse, wiggle your mouse, and over on the left-hand side, you'll see a little screen that has an arrow on it.
Little arrow.
Oh yeah, right underneath the blue chat box. And hopefully you see it.
Okay, now I press that. Do you see anything yet?
Yes, I see me. There we go. I see your desktop now. Okay,
good. Well, I wanted to show you a few things. This is part of the SAD. I'll show you my error folder in a minute. But first I want to say that I'm a new user of this Cricut Design Space software. I've had the machine for a month or two, but I got it in August. What is this now? September? So almost 2 months. And but I just got the Print Then Cut software at 11:30 p.m. Tuesday night. So I've had it only a day and a half, really. Had to sleep part of that time. So I've been playing with it, and I'm sure that that Christopher will be able to answer some of our questions that we have, that I have run into and others have. But one thing I do want to say about the Explore, that it's very easy to use. It's probably the easiest cutter that I have in my collection of 12, soon to be 13 cutters. And not only is it easy to use, but it runs very, very quiet. It's the quietest of all my cutters, which is nice, you know, if you have somebody sleeping in the house when you want to cut, or babies, or you know, grandkids come by and need to sleep. I don't have to disturb them with my cutter. One thing that I really like is that it imports SVG files. I don't think I would have bought this cutter at all if I couldn't use my own designs. Another really good thing about this cutter is that it cuts clean, precise cuts, does tiny details superbly. It cuts chipboard in a single pass. I like to use the 0.022 inch thick chipboard with test of any cutter is, can it do that in one pass? And my Explorer did that. I like the nice carbide blades. They are more expensive, but I've always preferred those over the cheap blades. I'll gladly pay more for a good blade that lasts a lot longer and cuts cleaner, so that's very nice in the Explorer. I really like how Cricut has offered all the Imagine owners the option of using all of the Imagine designs in the new Design Space software for free. And I like their new slice feature. It's kind of unique among Cutter software in that when you do a slice, that it preserves all the pieces. That's unusual. And so then I'm going to move on from those things that I like to the things that I don't like. And I think a lot of people who've been using the Design Space software have run into some of this. I have no complaints about the machine itself. It does run slowly. I don't mind slow because slow is precise. So slow cutting is not necessarily bad. If I wanted to do something that didn't require slow cutting, well, I might get a little impatient, but it's really not that bad. But the software itself, I know they're working on, and I'm very glad to hear from Cricut support of all the things that they are working on. It's a new software, and of course, new software that they work on is there's always hope for better. So I'm encouraged by the fact that things have improved tremendously since last week. And last week I just wanted to see what could I do in this software. So I was trying to get this happy birthday just to do it straight in the Design Space instead of having to do it outside. But every time that I tried to use a font in Design Space, I got error messages, and this is about the best I could do at the bottom. The top, I finally, while I was waiting and waiting and waiting, getting that little spinning thing in the middle of the screen, while it was trying to do this, I went over into Make the Cut, typed the word, made a card, made a fancy card, added an image, got it all exported and imported into Design Space before this even finished trying to process. That's how long it took. I had many calls to Cricut support, doing everything that they recommended. I noticed between last week and this week that I can now at least get these letters to Weld without crashing my Design Space. But they had me close everything. They had me go to Firefox instead of Chrome. They said shut all your other software. So what I did was take a screenshot to prove to them that no, I don't have anything else running. I only have this one software. I kept, with every click of the mouse, I kept getting this warning, unresponsive script. That this warning pops up after a minute of any time you click on anything. It's just not responding, but that's the way the software was working last week. Every click, an unresponsive script message. They told me to click stop script, but I just kept clicking on continue because I know if I waited long enough it would work, and it did. This is another error I would get, JavaScript error.
Did you try this on any other computer, or was it? Is this just?
I did this on Windows 7 Pro. I did it on my XP. They said this software is not compatible with XP, although I got the exact same errors on XP as I got on Windows 7. So today on Windows 8, I tried it, and I'm noticing everything's working much faster on Windows 8.1, surprisingly enough, but I'm still getting the errors on Windows 8. So this one is another very common error, large image. It's too large or complex and cannot be used. Just that font that was too big, and it was right from the software. So I was trying to use a Chopin script in the software and just weld it together, and I'm getting this error. Another one, please wait. I waited for an hour to be able to cut this. I finally got my shapes on the screen, and I was waiting for the, I clicked on the load mat, and I was waiting for the go light to flash, and it never did for an hour. I finally had to shut down the software and shut down my Firefox and restart it all, and then I was able to finally cut. I know it's annoying. I want everybody to know that you're not the only one. I did report all of these to Cricut support, and they gave me some suggestions. I put this up a few times because this was a every other minute unresponsive script. And this is the one that everybody's complaining of still this week, Shockwave. I'm getting this even on Windows 8 still, even after all their updates. And they did do some pretty impressive updates to get things speeded up a little bit. But Shockwave, this shuts down everything. You lose whatever you were doing, and it's very... When you click on Stop Plugin, you
basically
you lose. Yeah, it shuts it down, so then you have to shut down your browser, and you have to start all over if you didn't have a chance to save it. I do recommend saving your work real regularly till they get this. When I first reported the Shockwave Flash problem, they said that they were working on it, but when I called yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, they said, well, it's not a problem that we can fix because this is the Adobe issue, and they use Flash in this software. They can't get around it, and they can't tell Adobe what to do with it. If you look on Google, you'll find out that has a lot of issues all across the board with Chrome. Chrome is supposed to update automatically to the latest version of Flash, so I can't even use Chrome with this software. I have to use Firefox. They said install Flash. Go ahead.
Have you seen any of this stuff before, Christopher? I meant.
Yes, and well, it's from what I understand, and from having lots of long talks with Cricut as well as the customer care. At this point, a lot of this does have to do with obviously the browser that you're using. The Cricut Design Space software is only as strong as the browser that it is being used on, essentially. There are a lot of issues where the browser, like Julie said, is not updated with its Flash. There's also some issues that may show themselves within the browser, such as Chrome, that it is not able. This plugin, Shockwave Flash, I always receive on Chrome. Again, I switched to Firefox, and you'll see in many YouTube videos that I use Firefox almost exclusively now, simply because for some reason there's a lot going on in the background of Chrome when Chrome is running, and that's why I believe that I have some of the Shockwave or Shock Flash issues. And to kind of jump back to the sizing issue that you had, Julie, that you had shown there, there's on the website. They do list what the maximum sizes are currently. I'm looking down because I actually have it here on my iPad. For Chrome, it is 8 inches by 5.5 inches. And for Firefox and Safari, it's 8.5 inches by 6 inches is the largest that at this current time it is able to cut, because it is also putting in 1 inch for the registration marks. Fortunately, in early 2015, I believe that all of those sizing issues will be rectified, considering that we're getting 3 new sizes. I forgot to mention earlier that we'll be able to cut 3 new paper sizes, 12 by 12 being the one that I begged for when they first told us about all of this happening, and when we were first introduced to Print Then Cut. So I think that this issue is an issue based upon the browser that you're using, because I tend to switch. Sometimes I accidentally go into Chrome. It's just a force of habit, because Chrome is, everything comes up automatically. All of my Google Hangouts, all of my YouTube things and stuff like that, it's just easier to go into Chrome. But as soon as I switch over to Firefox, like you said, Julie, a lot of the issues subside.
Yes, it's going better. and I thought maybe it was gone away when I started using Windows 8.1 today, but again tonight I just tried doing that simple weld of a font, and I again using Windows 8.1, and I do think I was in Chrome and I got this Shockwave Flash again. Now I've been using exclusively Firefox for Design Space now, and I still get this in Design Space only for working with Firefox. So I know they're working on it. They're saying Adobe has to fix it, and it sounds like maybe they're trying to deal with Adobe about it. I hope they are, and I look forward to not having these errors anymore. This is another one that they were saying that, well, you have to check your system and make sure your system meets all the requirements. I don't know about all this stuff, you know, it's Greek to me, but I have a lot of memory. I have a lot of graphic memory. I have a lot of resources, and so when they reviewed that, they said, yeah, you have all the minimum requirements, but I was still having the trouble. This one, again, Shockwave Flash being busy. I think this just comes because it's been waiting for a while, you know, over a minute for a process to happen. And another thing that they advised me was that their servers overloaded with everybody trying to download all of the plugin updates and the firmware updates. So being software that is online, an overloaded server is a serious issue. And not being able to use your software while they're doing maintenance, or not being able to get online at a friend's house, as I was at a friend's recently, and I couldn't get on their Wi-Fi, so I couldn't use my software. I couldn't use my machine at all. Those are kind of things you need to plan for if you're going to use the Explorer, because you must have an internet link, and they were saying you must have a fast internet connection. In fact, make sure it's hardwired. Well, I have a hardwired, very fast internet upload of over 50 megahertz. So I have a real fast internet, and I'm hardwired to it, and not even dependent on Wi-Fi. So they really didn't know what to tell me. Again, unresponsive script, just continuous. And so I'm not going to dwell on this, but I do know that this is an issue a lot of people are having, and I do know that Cricut is working on this because they want people happy. So you're not the only one. Meanwhile, while this was happening, I decided, well, I'll just, you know, if it's slow, that's all right. I have other things I can work on. Even I can work on another computer. I can clean up my craft room. You know, it needs a lot of work with cleaning up while I'm waiting. So just some of the, besides the error issues and internet service issues, the one thing that I learned from this is that, see, this is a very quick and easy happy birthday to import by SVG, and Cricut support reminded me that this software was not designed for creating designs. It was designed to use the great collection, service. All of their great designs using your cartridges and all. I only have 18 cartridges, and most of them are not even opened yet. So I'm accustomed to designing in other software, so bringing it in is much easier, much more efficient. And so I do recommend, if you're going to use the Explorer machine, that you figure out which other software you're going to use if you want to design. If you're happy using your subscription or happy using the designs of others, like, let's say, SVGCuts, and you want to import things in from there, it will work great. But if you're going to type text and you want to use your system fonts, I highly recommend that you do that in another software, export as SVG, then bring it in. So I think I'll go on to...
Before you go any further, Julie, I'm going to knock out some of these comments, to bring up some of the comments that people are bringing up.
Yep.
Okay.
And Julie, that weld issue, I just want to touch on this real quick. The weld issue is a known issue, and they have been working on it for some time. It's something that I have actually sent to them multiple times. It only happens with the system fonts that you're bringing in. Unfortunately, a lot of the system fonts are extremely detailed, and the color is not matching up like you have there. But I have not experienced this problem at all with any of the Cricut fonts, and there are hundreds to choose from.
Yeah, I'm kind of lacking in my font collection. I counted today. It looks like I have 3 or 4 Cricut fonts available to me until I decide to link my cartridges. I haven't decided if I want to do that or not. After I found out how much they were worth, I thought, maybe I better not link them. I could sell them and have a lot of money. And I only have 18.
And then you get the subscription, and you get all the fonts. I mean, all of them except for the licensed fonts. I mean,
that's a good idea.
You get a lot. Yep.
All right, Trezek here. She says, Christopher, could you repeat those sizing specs again that you went over earlier?
Oh, absolutely. For the Chrome, Google Chrome, it's going to be 8 inches in height by 5.5 inches width. All of these sizes, also to preface this, the software will automatically stop you and give you that error that Julie had put up on the screen if it is too large for the area that it's going to be cutting and printing, then cutting with the registration marks. And then in Firefox, Safari, as well as Internet Explorer, it's going to be 8.5 inches by 6 inches. So you do have a little bit of a larger area to print then cut on those. And again, these specifications are based upon the browser. So we are at the mercy of the browser that we are using with the software.
All right. She has a follow-up question. What printer size, or what 12x12 printer do you use?
My 12x12 printer is actually the HP. It is I'm going to have to turn around because I always forget. It is the HP wide format 7000, I believe, is the model, and I can post that later on at the bottom in the feed. And I like the Hewlett-Packard simply because it has they have an ink program. I also use an Epson printer. It was actually a cheapy small printer that I bought just for print to cut, for print then cut for whenever I was a beta tester at the beginning, and I love Epson and HP. I would stay tuned because myself and Ken of Kens Kreations we are doing a collaborative video where we're going to talk all about printers, and it's coming out very, very soon.
It's called.
I have an Epson 1400 wide format printer with a continuous ink system.
Okay.
So my ink costs me pennies per page.
Yeah.
My supply lasts about a year for the same cost that one set of cartridges was costing. I do have to say my print quality suffers a little bit, but I send all my pictures out for printing anyway. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when I share my printed images.
All right, Kay. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say at this point I don't find anything with the ink being a problem with the printing. I mean, like I said in the previous Hangout, have not changed my print cartridge yet. I changed my print cartridge in my 12x12 simply because I was printing, and I showed a little while back, a ton of scrapbooking paper. I was on, and Michelle Bell does this, I was on a digital scrapbooking paper kick for a while there, and I was printing out every single one that I got. I don't suggest doing that. I only suggest printing them when you need them because you will run out of ink. But that's the only reason I had to change that one. With my Epson, I've done so many projects. I've done my entire Halloween series with that, and I've printed, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many things I've printed with that and not had a problem. Remember, we're not printing a ton. I see a lot of things in the groups, and I see a lot of things on the pages where everyone is very, very nervous about printing. We are printing something that is smaller than 9 inches and less wide than 6. So we're going to be using an exuberant amount of ink with any of our projects that we're doing.
All right, Kay here has a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kay says this is why browser-based software is a bad idea, and especially if it's based on Flash.
Yeah, we have several people that agree with your errors that you're getting there, Julie.
Well, I knew it was common. Now, I don't know if I'm showing my screen. I think I messed it up.
No, you're still sharing it. I see myself down there.
Okay. You can go ahead with more questions if you have more.
Yeah, and Handmade Card says she agrees with Kay. Building software on someone else's free platform leaves PC with no real recourse.
They're working on it, I promise. I can't tell you anything more, but I promise all of you hang in there. They are absolutely working on it. There's lots of exciting things that are coming, and I know that you will all be very happy once all of the kinks are worked out. They recognize that the software obviously is having some issues, especially being web-based, and all of that is being addressed, I promise you.
That's so good to hear, Christopher. Thank you.
Yes, it's going to work out, I promise. Again, I wish I could tell you everything, but it's going to work out, I promise.
And Lisa says she's in love with her Explorer, and the print and cut has her addicted all over again. And she owns all the Cricuts and Gypsies, and each one just offered me more and more. And the Imagine didn't pan out, but she still enjoys it.
And then we have one from Susan here.
And Susan wants to know, is Cricut charging for the use of this software?
No, there's no charge. The only charge that is incurred is going to be a charge that you will receive if you want the subscription. That's the only charge that there is currently, and you don't have to have the subscription. Luckily, you can take all of your cartridges that you have, and you can link them into the system. That's something that we talked about. If you go back into the archives of the previous Hangouts, we discussed that, but nope, there's no charge for the software.
All right, I think that about does it with the comments. Yeah, keep commenting. If you guys have questions, feel free to even call us right here. There's a phone number down there. You can call. That's via Skype, or if you have a cell phone, that works as well. All right, go ahead, Julie.
Okay,
go
now
ahead and continue
can
on.
I share my? Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, this is a card I was making while I was waiting for the Design Space software to process. I just quickly made this in Make the Cut. This was a design in the Makeup Gallery, so I just got it and added my text and a mat. In fact, then I decided I might as well make a whole card out of it, and so I made it while my Design Space was processing and errors constantly, and so I uploaded it into the Design Space just to see if I could do some print and cut with it. This is my first print and cut, and Rob, I guess he was teasing, but he wanted to know, me to do a print and cut in the dark. So I turned out all the lights when it was scanning for the marks, the only lights in the room, and it was nighttime and nice and dark here. The only lights in the room were the monitor. You can see the reflection right here, and then the lights on the machine. And my Explorer found those marks perfectly. One of the wonderful things is that it did a perfect print and cut, print then cut. I was totally amazed. Here, after it found the marks, I went ahead and turned on the lights. I didn't want people to think I was weird or anything, working in the dark. But
what is this circle test that you did? I noticed you did this one in the Vue.
I did this circle test on the Vue. I did it on the Silhouette, and I did it on. Then I decided to do the same test on this Explorer. The purpose of this test was to do a vector cutting test, meaning that these circles are vectors, they're not pictures, and there's no bleed because I was asked to do a full page of circles and have them cut straight, and then I did a design from the Pazzles craft room. You can see that on the last video. I explained that a little bit more, but the goal was to see how precise of a cut could I get exactly around the edges of these circles without having a bleed of any kind. I'm sorry that the picture's blurred. I only got this one picture before I cleared the mat for my next cut. But as you can see, there's absolutely no blue on this. There was no bleed. There's no white on the circles at all. I got perfect print and cut. The calibration, I had to go through it twice to, go through the steps that are just very simple, easy to follow steps on the screen to calibrate the machine and then do this perfect cut. I was flabbergasted because it's the first machine that has ever cut this file perfectly. And that was, so I'm convinced that if I want a perfect print, if I want to cut around printed images perfectly without a bleed, that this software will do a very good job. Now this is a close-up of when I added the bleed and cut, I had a different result. And I want you to notice on this I did a close-up because at this point of every circle, the machine did a strange stop and a hum, and then it continued. And you see my circles are lopsided here. And I believe it was struggling around the bleed. I don't know why, but this.
Have you seen something like this, Christopher?
From what I understand, and again, this was a discussion that I had about the bleed with Cricut Customer Care. The bleed, how do I explain this? When you do not use the bleed, it is going to kind of fix any imperfections that would be within the graphic or image that you are bringing in. For instance, I was doing I brought in a logo that I was doing, and the Design Space software fixes things. It's fantastic in that aspect that if there's a little bump or there's a tiny little area that is not perfect, it will smooth that over. When the bleed comes into factor, it's kind of not magnetizing. It is magnifying. No, the bleed is magnifying the bumps. It's magnifying the imperfections simply because it is trying to remove and move those away. In this situation with the circles, I believe that since it picked up on that imperfection that may have been in the circles, and as you can see, it had to have been an imperfection in the circle because it did it on every single circle. If it only did it on one, then I'd say, oh, there's probably a problem with the machine or a problem with the software. It picked up some sort of an imperfection with that bleed in the circle, and that's what's happening here. It does it with some other shapes I've noticed. This is something that I have reported, obviously, to Cricut as well, that the bleed is picking up some sort of imperfections in the shapes or as well as in the graphics. This happens as well if you are bringing in like a JPEG or something of that nature. It sometimes will pick up those tiny little imperfections. The only thing that I have brought in that does not pick that up would be a PNG file, simply because that does not have any background to look for those imperfections that you are creating when you're deleting out the background.
Yeah, Julie, I'd be interested in actually seeing, like, if you were to actually, before you printed and cut this, would be to rotate one of the circles and see if the bump follows or if the bump still stays right there. You know what I mean?
That would be interesting. I think that you can't see it on this, but this was an SVG file that I brought in, so I had perfect circles that were an SVG, no JPEG, no PNG. These were SVG shapes. Mm-hmm. I did have to flatten it to print. Once I flattened it, I believe that's where the imperfections were brought in. Okay. It did not cut. These circles turned out perfectly when I cut them without bleed, but when I added the bleed, they cut like this. So, yeah, that's a good idea. Is to maybe spin some of them around and see if the same happens. But I do believe that this was brought in only with the bleed. Are there any other questions about this?
No, not seeing any. But I'm wondering if that's like the start point and end point of where that blade touched that circle. You know, so maybe that's like the beginning and end point of that circle. Which is why I think that if you rotate one of them, you will see the bump will rotate.
Could be. So it was interesting. I was worried. I thought, oh no, my machine must be something wrong with it, because it's going, you know, right as it was at that bump. Just on this time, every other cut, it's been cutting flawlessly with no noise and no problem. It had problems going over that bump every time on this particular file. The next one, this is the Cameo one that I showed the last time, to show you that even though it was very close, there's still some blue here, there's still some white on the edges of this. So it was a bit of not as perfect as the Explorer. And this is the one on the Vue, where we have just a little white here, and we talked about that last time. And I thought I'd bring in, this is the same file, the same exact SVG file that I cut on the Explorer, and I cut on the this is the Zing, and the Zing had took me 8 to 10 hours to get it calibrated to do this, but it finally did a pretty good job. I just don't like spending that much time on anything, but it still wasn't perfect because there's still a little bit of blue on these edges. But again, it relies too much on my eyes to line up a laser. I really preferred the other. Now remember that frog I showed you that I brought in? I thought as soon as I got my print then cut option in the software late Tuesday night, I thought, all right, I'll just see what it does. My frog turned blue. Well, I figured that must be my heads need to be cleaned or something. It's got stripes all over. It wasn't very pleasing, but I thought I'd show you anyway. That's the ugly. Okay, I told you I'd show you something ugly.
Julie?
Yes.
Julie, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
Handmade Card wants to know, is the same circle copy and pasted, or was it individually drawn?
The same circle on these was multiplied.
Duplicate. They were cloned.
Yes. Same exact circle. I didn't move them even. I spaced them automatically. So they were automatically spaced. Somebody had asked me specifically to do this as a test on the new Vue. They wanted to see what it would do with a vector cut, because I got a really nice perfect cut with a bleed, but they wanted to see without a bleed how perfect could the machine cut. And that this was this design I did specifically to show that last month, and then I brought it into the Explorer thinking, well, we could check that. See. So this is my sad frog. The card turned out really nice, you know, the one that I paper pieced. But this one I will probably just kind of keep in my bloopers pile. Now this is the next project that I decided to do. I found this a very large image online of a monkey, cartoon monkey. It's free clip art. And I don't have a lot of projects in my design space that were available to me, because I don't have a subscription or anything, for doing print and cut. So I just brought this image in. It's a huge image, so I thought it would be a good test for print and then cut around it. The first thing that I noticed in the software is that the default is to add a bleed. Now my preference is to not use a bleed, and adding the bleed can take a very long time for a very complex image, so I kind of wish they would not add it automatically. I could save a lot of time, and I'll show you why I don't like the bleed. First of all, my Explorer cuts so perfectly without it that I don't really need it, but there's an important second reason that I'll show you in some of my other pictures here. this is a close-up of my cut of that design. And even though I had a very high resolution graphic, I still ended up with this around my design after it was cut on the Explorer, and I don't like that white space. Just the fact that it was a JPEG image means that it does have a little bit of a ragged edge. And so when it was cut, it had this little ragged white around it. So I wasn't real happy with that. So what I did was I took the same design and to make the cut, and I created the an SVG file out of the monkey. The main difference is here you see all the shading in it, which you might like to have in it for a printed project. But I decided I wanted to see how well would this do with an SVG file brought into the software, and to see how different it would cut as compared to the image. So I brought this in as an SVG and printed it along with the JPEG design that I cleaned up in the basic cleanup in the software. It did clean up well. Looked to me like it, was pretty easy. And let me see if I can find another picture here. Any questions so far?
Oh yeah, we got one here.
Yeah, we have another one from Kay.
Okay.
Regarding the bumps and the circles, was the paper dry? And the bleed would have you cutting through ink, whereas the plain circles would not. And she doesn't understand why the cut line would not be the same.
Oh, good point. Good point.
I agree. I have no idea. I'm as puzzled as the next person. It was cutting through the paper, and I was using plain cardstock.
Yeah, she was saying, was that paper wet due to the ink? Was that a fresh ink print? And is that why you're getting that little bump at the tail end of that circle? I'm thinking.
It was a fresh print. It did not feel wet to me, but at that point nobody had posed that question, so I wasn't paying attention to it that much. I was using the high photo quality, because I wanted to get rid of those lines that I kept getting when I print, even though that I checked my print heads and clean them and everything, so I wanted to use high quality. So it's possible that they were wet, but the fact that every single circle on that page, whether it was at the bottom or the top, whether it was cut first or last, because there was obviously a time difference between them, that if it were ink that that was stopping it at that point, there was ink that it was cutting through all the way around. So I really doubt that was an ink issue, but not having tested it on my expensive presentation paper, I can't say for certain.
Gotcha. We have a question for Christopher up here, and it says, have you done a video about importing using JPEGs in the print and cut? And if you have, Christopher, you might want to go to the event page and post a link to that, if you do.
I have, but it is not going to be posted until Saturday. I can probably move that up and hopefully do it, post some videos tomorrow. I wanted to wait to post all of my print then cut videos. A lot of the other beta testers posted them very, very quickly. I wanted to wait for questions. A lot of people have sent me messages, emails, Facebook comments, and said, where are all of your print then cut videos? I've worked on them, and I've been very quiet this week. I've been working on them all week this week because I wanted to answer a lot of questions that I thought all of you would have. So my print then cut videos should be coming out either tomorrow, or hopefully everything will be uploaded on Saturday, where I'm going to review that very question that you had with the JPEGs. I actually bring in many different types of files. PNG files are my absolute favorite files. There are millions of them out there. and with the PNG file, it is going to automatically know exactly how to cut around that image. And I think going back with Julie's image of that monkey, that's where the problem is going to kind of arise with that JPEG. The thing that I stress to everyone that I talk to about this new print then cut, as well as any type of a image that you were bringing in previously, just to do like cut around, you want to make sure that when you're cleaning around the image, however you choose to do that, whether you use the eraser tool or you use the magic wand tool, make sure that you are clicking that little eye up in the corner and look at what you're going to be cutting. The machine will only cut what you ask it to cut. So if you are cleaning up an image, and I have found this on a lot of JPEGs that are out there, sometimes graphic designers can be sloppy, and they will not completely white out the background of an image. So for instance, with that monkey, that white may have looked white to the naked eye to us, but there may have been a what I would call kind of like a gradient that is behind it. I learned a lot about this whenever I was in college. If you are not whiting out things in the background of the image, there can be a small gradient, and the Cricut Design Space software is going. The Cricut Design Space software is very good at picking up very, very, very faint colors. You will find that whenever you are looking at cutting things out around. So it's just very important to make sure that you are looking at what's cutting before you actually cut it out.
Thanks for that, Christopher. Especially about the eye, I was wondering, how do I see the lines? Because I know there's something wrong with these lines, but I didn't know how to see them.
Yep.
I'll look for that.
It'll put a red line around it and show you exactly what it's going to cut out. And I mean, that's the tool that I probably use the most with the software, other than, you know, obviously the edit and the slice and things like that, simply because I am very OCD about getting very, very close on the images, which is why the Silhouette Cameo would always drive me absolutely crazy, because in some areas it would be perfect. It would be absolutely perfect on the image, and then other areas it would be so far off that I couldn't even imagine where it was looking at it at. So with the Explore and the Print Then Cut new edition, I can't believe how close we are getting those cuts to the edge, and without a bleed. I thought the bleed was going to be the answer, saying that, you know, because as graphic designers we've been using a bleed for years to make sure that the image cuts out perfectly, but the precision that this machine has without the bleed is just, it hasn't been seen before.
Well, I have to agree with you. I don't like the bleed at all, but I really like the cut without the bleed. Mm-hmm. And so I got some interesting cuts here. Now this experiment was to see what's going to be the difference between cutting the raster image or the flattened SVG image. I got a nice clean cut out of both, but my comment right now is this was a raster image, or the JPEG image, and this was the vector image, the SVG file. But I want you to notice my problem here with my printer, printing these lines across there. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I need to get a new printer. This printer just must not be, you know, must be a problem with the printer. What else could it be? This is not satisfactory for me. So I decided to get another design. I got this one when I bought from the Silhouette store, online store, and I thought, well, it's supposed to be a printable tattoo thing, so I flipped it over and I did a screen capture from the Silhouette software to make a JPEG, and brought it in to make the cut to get rid of the red line that was around it. And then I did a print here, and this is my final picture here. I did a print then cut. On the Explorer, every time I cut this design, I got these ugly lines on my printout. So I printed it out on the Silhouette Cameo with the extra lines they added here. You can see the red lines. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Oops, that didn't work. You see, it's a printing problem here, but when I printed it on the Cameo, it printed beautifully. I'm using Epson presentation paper here. I thought if I'm going to try to get the best print from an Epson. They always recommend their paper to get the colors to print more true. So I use Epson presentation paper, which is matte paper, and I use the exact same ink with all the heads cleaned. I use the same printer. I use the same design. The only difference in all three of these was the actual software that I was cutting from. I use the same design, except in the Silhouette they had added lines because these swirls are very difficult to cut. My first one on the Explorer didn't turn out well because I found out that my cutting pressure was too thick. You know, you'll get a lot of tearing if you have too much cutting pressure. And I realized that presentation paper is only light cardstock, so I changed the setting to light cardstock, and I was very pleased with a nice clean cut even around these swirls. I neglected to get rid of the white when I was bringing it in, so there's still a little white here, but that's user error. But still, the print job was my frustration. On this one here, it did a lovely job with the same printer, the same paper, and the same design. Now, this is what surprised me. So I took the same design that I used in the design space. I put it in the Pazzles Vue software, and I just used their line thickening feature on the cut lines, and which is probably the equivalent of a bleed line, but it's not really a bleed. It just thickens the line for printing, and then when it cuts, it cut right through the ink, and it gave me the most perfect cut. At this point, I'm not marveling at the cut. I'm marveling at the print because this is the true color. This was a nice cut, but it wasn't the color, real true color of the design. And this is what I'm getting from the Explorer, and that really concerns me. I believe that the resolution for print from the Cricut design space is too low to get a good print quality. I love the print quality of these two, and this was just not acceptable. So when I thought it was my printer causing these print lines, it wasn't the printer's fault. It's software from which I'm printing. So I'm really hoping that Cricut will make some changes in their the resolution of the print. That's totally, even though I selected photo quality on my printer settings, the printer settings didn't fix the issue.
Yeah, how many cards? She was wondering if the difference between the printing is because the Explorer is printing through a web browser and some quality may be lost. I don't know.
I don't know, but I need to show you this. What I did do is I printed some to PDF on some of these. So let's see if I can take a look at the PDF print. How do I get that? Okay. This is you can print to PDF, and then you can kind of see what's happening here. This looked fine, but you see the pixelated lines on this image from the JPEG image printed on the Vue, and I don't know any other way to show you these, so this is with the bleed. Now this is what the bleed looks like when I printed to PDF instead of printing to my printer. So you see, if your print was off, the bleed is not doing me any good because I still see the white space. I still see a change of color on the cut line. So much better if it would cut. On my SVG file, on the other hand, it did a blur on the edge, which would be acceptable. But with this one, it wasn't. And I think Christopher's explanation help, but again, this is the same image. This is just SVG, and this one was a JPEG. The next one is this image was the original cleaned up image from Make the Cut, and then oops, that one's the same one. somebody tell me how to use this computer. This is what I'm concerned about. This is the bleed line on this particular design, and you'll notice that the bleed color picks up all the colors in the design and it adds it to the bleed, which would be totally useless for me, because if for some reason, and it is true that when this design cut on the Explorer, I got some white on the right side, and I think Christopher's explanation was probably why. I suspect that the cut lines were a little off on this side, maybe because of a shadow in the original design. Everything else here, when I didn't use a bleed, cut perfectly all the way around on the Explorer when I didn't use a bleed. But with the bleed, we've got some interesting effects here. So I'm hoping, because Cricut is being very, very responsive to the issues people are having, I'm sure that they will take note of this and make some improvements in how the bleed works. But it just totally makes the bleed unusable for me. So I would really like the default for printing to not include bleed.
Now, did you test any of this using their graphics at all? Because it seems like you're bringing a lot of your own in, and maybe the bleed is more designed to work with their own images. I don't know. Did you test any of their images that they have?
I did test some of their images, and they didn't do very well. I didn't take any pictures of them, and I only had a few images of theirs that I could try. But first of all, I don't own any of their designs that are for print only, for print designs, because I don't have a subscription. I did get some of their images, just the regular cut images, and I flattened them and tried to cut, and I didn't get good cuts around them. So I'm still waiting on that. I can do more. I'm getting my image. I bought an Imagine, so I should have all of those pictures within. I asked the seller to send me the serial number so I could get it registered and start using it before tonight, but I won't get it till next week. So I'll have all of those Imagine designs. I think that's a pretty neat thing that they're offering for Imagine owners to have free access to all those Imagine cartridge designs. So then I'll be able to test that more completely. I'm suspecting, though, that the bleed will be an issue with those as well. It doesn't seem to make a difference. The ones that I did cut from just flattening their designs didn't cut spot on like the ones that I brought in. The SVGs I brought in cut perfectly, but the flattened designs, maybe it's in the flattening where the problem is happening. I'm not sure. Maybe the flatten issue needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
but
I'm really not seeing where it picked up the pink from. I don't know.
Well, it's picked it up from the heart. It's actually bled that color out.
A bleeding heart.
Yeah, and meaning, this design has black all the way around the edges. When I cut this in the Pazzles Vue software, all it did was thicken this outside black line, and it cut beautifully, perfectly. And I think they could probably do a similar thing.
Samantha says the print cut from the Vue turned out beautiful. I guess from all those images that you were showing. Going through some more of these things. Carolyn said that she has printed and cut an image from Explorer, or from the Explorer, and it came up perfect. Colors were spot on. Handmade Cards went on further to talk about. She said that the difference in printing is because the Explorer is printed through the web browser. Some quality is lost. The fidelity to color and quality is lost when printing through a web browser. And then she went on even further and said that web browsers are built to print and display low-res graphics, 72 to 100 dpi. So it sounds like Handmade Cards is a graphics major. I did not know any of that stuff. So thank you, Handmade Cards. Appreciate it. All right.
So this is my final picture, but this is the one that just blew me away. not because of the perfect cut. I really like the perfect cut, but the printing color. There's definitely a resolution problem that I think Cricut will address as more people do this. And like some people there, I heard a lot of comments on the Facebook page on Cricut, I need a new printer, I need a new printer, I need a new printer. You know what? I don't think you need a new printer. And I think if you're watching this and you realize if you have any other software to print your designs from, you ought to try it in a printer. Because I was shocked, had no idea that it wasn't my printer causing these issues. So try it from whatever software you have. Try printing your designs, and hopefully the people at Cricut can come up with a solution for this. And maybe Christopher can't talk about it because he knows what it is. I'm glad I can talk about it because I don't have any, and I'm not bound by any agreements. I'm just a user.
Yeah, I'm not bound by necessarily an agreement to say anything that is necessarily wrong. I'm still in the complete other end of that because I'm testing it just like anybody else is. The only agreement I'm bound by is I can't tell you anything new that's coming. So that's the only thing that
I'm hoping there's something. I'm hoping there's something new that will be fixing this, and if it has to do with web browsers and all, and printing from your browsers, then maybe there's a solution in there.
Well, I wanted to touch actually upon this printing situation, as I will call it. I actually do not print from my browser pop-up. I think that this actually has a lot to do with it. Whenever you are printing in that little it's like a white box, I believe, that comes up. It's actually the browser printing dialog. I never use that. I go down to the bottom. There's a little blue link that says that you can use the system dialog, I believe is what the correct wording is, to print your image. I actually show that in my intro to Print Then Cut video because I like to print directly from my computer dialog printing. I don't know if that necessarily has anything to do with it. I've never experienced an issue like this, and that is the honest to goodness truth. I've never had something that came out that did not look like the actual image that I had done, and I have done some very, very high resolution images from my Print Then Cut. I actually did a bunch of cards featuring Shrek, animated computer graphic cartoon, which has so many colors. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that maybe now that you're bringing this up, by printing through the system dialog as opposed to the browser dialog, that may have something to do with it. I'll have to do a test on it. I'm not sure, but I have never printed through the actual dialog that pops up automatically. I always go down to the bottom and click the link, and I print it directly from my computer.
I don't know what you mean. I got my actual printer icon up, and I was able to print, choose printer preferences, my regular printing dialog that I'd use for printing everything, and I was able to set it to photo quality, and but I did notice I did print to PDF, and I could print the PDF, but I did notice in one of their one of Cricut's answers to questions that they don't recommend that you print from the PDF for print and cut because and the resolution on that is 1200 dpi, but because of the size difference you may find that it's not going to print accurately because the PDF doesn't have the same resolution as the cutter or something like that. But I got nice prints to PDF at the 1200 resolution, but printing to the printer. So I don't know if, Christopher, if you can show us what you're talking about, the blue dialog. When I go to print, I don't think that I saw any other options.
That actually, I just pulled it up and I'm looking over it now. That only happens in Chrome. If you're using...
I'm using Firefox.
Okay, yes. In Chrome, that's where that dialog box does come up. In Firefox, it will bring up your printer, your regular printer dialog. If anybody is using Chrome, that is where I ran into that problem. Chrome actually has its own printer dialog that comes up. It's like a browser printer.
Oh yeah, that never works for me.
Yeah, I always went down to the bottom. There's a little link if you are still using Chrome, anyone out there, and you can print right from your system dialog. But it does look like in Firefox that it does not give you that option. It just simply goes right to your printer. But I'm very curious. I'm going to try out some different things and see if I can run into this problem. I actually did a print then cut of, I think I showed last week, of my iPad cover. And the colors were so beautiful that I didn't even blink twice. So I'm not sure what this problem may be, but that, I mean, I just haven't run into the problem yet. If I do, I'll try to figure it out. But I've never.
Maybe Julie can send you the file, Chris,
yeah.
and you can play your results for next week.
Yeah,
and
I'm
we'll
not
have
sure.
photos sent to us.
I've never had something that printed, that poorly as it is up, as the picture is looking there on the Cricut Explore. If it did, I would absolutely, report that to Cricut and say, what's happening? Is this coming from the browser? Is this what's going on? But the one big print then cut that I did, which was the iPad cover, which was my first real project that I did where it was very intricate. I did not have, those colors were beautiful. So I'll be surprised and curious to see, what will happen in the future, because I have not had that streaking or discoloration as of yet. So I'm not saying that it won't happen, but I think that it has a lot to do with the images that are brought in as well.
Well, this particular image, again, I bought this as a print and cut design from Silhouette Studio. So I'm not sure I can send it to you, but again,
I can buy it.
When I bought it, it had, see where the cut lines are on the Silhouette design. There's a red line here that goes around the cut line. Interesting thing is, when I did the screen capture and I brought this in and tried to clean it up, that I had to get rid of that little red line all the way around. That took me forever and was not very much fun. And what happened if I didn't remove the red line? It cut on the outside of the red line here.
Yeah.
Did a beautiful job. Then it cut on the inside of the red line, and then it went around and it cut around the design. And I had shreds. That was the other ugly that I didn't even take a picture of because it was so ugly. I realized, no, I can't leave a red line around it. So that's when I just took it in to make the cut. And when I just used and make the cut, it was very simple. I just used the blackout and texturize. It brought it right in cleanly. So then I exported. Export as SVG it won't come into the software. So I printed to raster from Make the Cut, and that's where I got this design and this design. So if it were a Make the Cut thing, this one wouldn't have. This one would have had the same problem as this because I use the same exact image. But I think maybe the problem with the white on this side might have been due to the shadow created. I should have removed the shadow from Make the Cut.
How did you bring that image in?
I brought it in through the advanced. I printed from Make the Cut as a raster image PNG. So then when I brought it into the Cricut design space, I was able to just instantly do a trace, with the basic trace. Because it was a PNG, it removed everything.
Okay.
And so it did a good job. Only thing is, because I did a blackout, then I missed the internal white parts, which if I were to do it again, I would remove that little white and Make the Cut before I print it. But when we print as a raster image PNG, I should have removed the shadow that you can adjust in that software to remove it, and that might have made the better cut on some of my previous. See, there's some white here, and I would have preferred not to have that white. You can't see it very well in this picture, but there's more white than I would like to have.
So you brought this image in to Make the Cut first,
and I took out, yes, and I took out all the red lines that were used to cut this. You see the red lines were where this cut is. And because those red lines did not work well, and in Design Space, I didn't intend to take it in to make the cut, but those red lines were causing extreme problems, taking hours to remove, when all I had to do was click the pixel trace, and since it was a it was very easy, just automatically cleaned it up just with a click. So once it was cleaned up, I just exported as a raster, a PNG file, and brought it right in. It was very quick and easy.
Now, lines that you're talking about on the original image in the Silhouette, those would have been the cut lines, correct?
The red lines were the cut lines, yes.
Okay.
But now, they were red.
Is there now you can remove those? So were you in Silhouette? So did you? I'm not sure why I'm just confused. I'm confused as to why the image was taken from the Silhouette and then brought in to make the cut to then be brought into the Design Space. I'm thinking that we may have had some sort of a resolution or I mean, there's within those jumping around from programs, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be some sort of a resolution and or dexterity of the image that may have been lost.
If so, then these two would have both been subjected to it. I did this one last.
Okay.
After, so I used the same exact PNG file in the Vue software.
Okay.
And I just imported the cutting lines that from when you go in to make the cut, you can export the SVG, and it results in good, clean cutting lines. So what I did was I used the PNG and the cutting lines in the Vue software. If you look at this in the Silhouette software, the red line appears on the screen, and I could not. It was not just a cutting line; it was a red line around the design. Okay. I don't know how to get rid of it, but I'm not very smart on Silhouette software. So you might be able to get rid of the red line in that software, and I would like to cut it on the Silhouette without this big white part, but I'm not smart enough in that software to do it. So you might, if you can get the software, get the file and do something with it in a video in Cricut Explore and get some different results, I'd love to see it.
I have a question here from Rain. She would like to know what is the best printer to use with printable vinyl, and she's asking before making the wrong choice.
I would not suggest using a laser printer for printable vinyl. That is something that I've seen a lot of comments about, simply because the laser printer does get very hot, and printable vinyl, unfortunately, is not, I guess, necessarily made for that heat. I've seen a lot of stories from individuals in the different groups and stuff like that that have used printable vinyl in a laser printer before, and it did not work very well. I'm not familiar with a laser printer because I've never had one myself, but I have seen lots of comments. Again, an Epson printer, myself and Julie both have an Epson printer, and it works beautifully. So it's going to depend on the pricing of the ink, what works best for you. I didn't post, excuse me, Rob posted a link for me, because I'm not very good at that, as we all know, of where I got my ink. I order my ink online. It's from an eBay shop, and I get my ink so cheap. For my HP large-scale wide format printer, I think that I get 2 of the XL large black cartridges, as well as 2 of each of the color cartridges for something like, I think it's $12. So that has helped me a lot with my printing costs, only on the large scale printer. For my Epson smaller printer that I use, which I'll probably be using the majority of with Print Then Cut, I think that it's something like maybe $30 to replace all of the cartridges. So we're not looking at a huge price comparison really on the actual printer, but you're going to want to look at what the ink costs are. I mean, that's what was most important to me, was what the ink cost is going to be, simply because I do a lot of projects where I am printing a lot of different things. For instance, with the Monsters High banner that I did that I'll send to Rob so he can post. That was another thing that it did use a lot of ink, but again, I did it on my printer where the ink is not that pricey. So I would check the printer quality as well as the ink prices.
Christopher, I have a question on that. Some of the printers have pigment ink, and some have the regular plug-and-play ink, and I'm wondering which would work on the printable vinyl. Is it the pigment ink, which is a totally different kind of ink than the regular printer ink?
My ink that I've actually tested out the printable vinyl on both of my printers, and that's going to be in a video that is coming up as well. I'm actually hoping to edit that one this evening whenever I use the sticker paper as well as the vinyl. I think that whenever we say printable vinyl, everyone is thinking that it is very similar to the vinyl that we use right now currently on our cutting machines. It is not that type of a material, and I'm not sure exactly how to explain it until everybody has tried it. It is it's almost the exact same texture as the vinyl that we're using now, but it does not have that exact same finish on it as the vinyl that we're using now. It does print, very, very nicely with, again, I believe my printer is the pigment ink that you are talking about. I think my HP printer is the pigment ink, though, because it is considered what's called a professional grade printer that is used for printing large-scale posters and things like that. But my Epson printer, I will just be that plug-and-play print cartridge that you are speaking of. I've used, I can, of course, check on those and post those later, but I'm pretty sure that that is the way that these two different printers work. But I have had amazing results with both. I believe that there is, and don't quote me on this because this is not something that I have done a ton of research on, but I believe that there is some sort of a coating or something that is on this printable vinyl, because I was able to print on the printable vinyl. I put it on my iPad because that's my big project that I did with the printable vinyl, and I was actually able to wipe it down with a damp cloth, and none of the ink smeared. So that may be because of the pigment ink or the plug-and-play ink. I believe I printed that one on my Epson, but I believe that there may be something that is in the chemistry of that printable vinyl that is making our ink permanent and even more permanent than it would be without it. I would not suggest using a completely soaked wash rag to clean off something like that, or spraying it with Windex or anything of that nature. But I was able to, I used extremely sticky contact paper to transfer it on. I always use that, and people don't like that all the time because they want me to use the transfer paper. Everyone online wants me to use that because they can't find the contact paper that I use half the time. And there was a residue that was left on the vinyl from my contact paper. So I was able to just wipe that down, and it was perfect, and I had no streaking. I was actually amazed that I did not have any streaking on it.
We have another question from Kay. She says, Christopher, do you know what the output resolution from Design Space is? No sense in bringing in higher resolution images than can print and slow things down, and so would be really helpful to know.
The output resolution is actually not going to be necessarily a Design Space question. The output resolution that is going to be coming forward, and this is actually a question that I had previously, is going to be coming from your browser. The browser is going to be what is determining the output resolution that is coming from the images that are put in. I have noticed, this could be kind of like a segue to this question, I have noticed that with some of the images that I am bringing in, the higher the resolution, it is taking a little bit longer, not an exuberant amount of time, but a couple of seconds longer for that to be imported in, simply because it is, I believe, matching the resolution to what is going to be printed out from your print then cut, but I do not have a firm answer because it's going to be different based upon what the browser is. I do not believe that that is going to be, I mean, from what I understand, it's not an output resolution based upon Design Space. It's going to be based upon what browser that you're using, because that's where you're printing from. But I'll be happy to look that up for everyone.
I would appreciate that. As I'm looking at these images, I realize that the Cameo is not using an online browser, so it's printing straight from the software to the printer. Same with the Pazzles Vue, it's not printing from online software, so we're getting a very high resolution print. It was designed as a print and cut, so we're getting the high resolution on the print. And the main difference, I think, here on the Cricut Explorer, if it is true that we're printing through a browser and that we're getting only 72 DPI, that could certainly account for quality printing. But I'm wondering if they can do something in the software to bypass I know the screen is only 72 DPI, but when we print, can you find out for us what the actual print DPI is of when we're printing anything from Design Space?
Yeah, it looks like here from what I'm pulling up, there have been in the past issues with Google Chrome and the print quality that is coming out from it.
Well, this is
I'm not
Firefox.
seeing. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to look at Chrome first. I'm sorry. Let me go to Firefox and see what it's going to tell me, because I believe that it is going to come directly from because obviously there's nowhere in Design Space that is going to allow us to change any type of resolution. There really isn't in any software that I have seen for any cutting machine any type of area that we can change the resolution. That's going to be a printer change. Obviously, like Julie had said earlier, she changed her printer resolution to a higher resolution for, obviously, which is what is happening when you change it to a photo print. But I'm curious to see what that actual resolution output is.
There's also a question here from Barb. She wants to know where is the best place to buy printable vinyl.
Where you could actually purchase the printable vinyl currently on www.cricut.com. I will post a link on my Facebook page, and I'll also give Rob a link as well. I'm going to try to post all of these things myself tonight, Rob. I promise. If I mess anything up, if you could just help me and fix it. But I'll post that link tonight. It was actually just released today. You can get the printable vinyl as well as the printable sticker paper. I'm going to show you guys it. Oh, here I have it right.
Yeah, Tresic also wants the link to your ink site. Teresa Luck, she's really big into the continuous ink system.
Okay.
I think that's almost what Julie has.
I got my continuous ink system on eBay. You know, they're really cheap. They're cheaper than a set of cartridges, and I've bought a number of these for different printers. As long as they're Epson or Canon, the continuous ink systems work with them. I always, before I buy a printer, I look up that printer and make sure there is a continuous ink system for it before I buy the printer, because it usually takes them about a year to get that developed for a new model on the market. So I wait until I can find they call it a CIS. So I go to eBay and I search, I put in the model number of the printer and then CIS, and it comes up with a number of options. It's nice to get one that has a little bit of support, you know, so you know how to install it. I think the company that I got mine, I bought one for a friend, and there's videos that help me to get them. I think they speak English. All of these are made in China. Probably same places that make the printers.
Okay, it looks like, I just want to give an update real quick on that print resolution. It looks like Firefox, and I'm so glad that we had this question so I can look this up. It looks like Firefox is automatically set to print at a 300 DPI. You are able to go in to Firefox, and I'll type up these different places. You are able to go ahead and change that to 600 DPI. You do it actually, there's 3 little lines up in the corner of Firefox where you can actually change that. But it looks like the printer resolution is automatically defaulted to 300 DPI, which is obviously half of the resolution that I normally would suggest going with.
I'm told that the naked eye cannot see a difference between even 200 and 300. That 200 would be sufficient. It should be sufficient, but I don't think this print was even 200. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would. I would definitely check. Everybody, I would check your browser to see what it is set on. That is just something that was a comment on actually a Firefox message board saying that it looks like it is automatically set to 300, but it may even be lower than that. I always look for anything that's 600 or above simply because I like to be able to size my image to whatever I would like. Unfortunately, with a lower resolution, it is true that the naked eye may not be able to see the difference between the two, but if you want to make it any larger, your eye will definitely pick that up, simply because the color won't change, but your pixelation will begin once it becomes any larger. So that's when I'm looking for an image, that's is going to be the difference between the resolution of printing and when you're actually looking for an image. But I would definitely check to see. It looks like for mine right now, it looks like it was set. I'm gonna have to kind of play around in here and see where exactly you looked at. There's a lot of instructions on the Firefox website. Firefox kind of help screen, but it looks like it's because the resolution's automatically set a little bit lower. But who knows? I can make a video on that as well. I'm not opposed to making as many videos as everybody needs to figure this out, because I use this as well. I'm not just a spokesperson, so to speak, for any of these kind of machines. I use them. I mean, everyone has seen my projects and everyone has seen my tutorials. I want to make sure that these machines are working to the best for my output project as well. So I want to make sure that it's working just as well.
Yeah, Case says that Silhouette Studio has an adjustable print resolution under the preferences general. The default is set to 600 DPI. She said most other programs use vector output, so DPI is not relevant.
Okay.
Well, I used from Silhouette Studio, I used whatever was default, and my printer's option with the best photo quality, so it's probably 600. It turned out beautiful. I asked one of my music students today, well, which one of these do you like the best? And he said he liked the color and the Silhouette one better. Just that's his color preference, but looks like it's missing the yellow that this one had. But they both printed very nicely, and so I was encouraged to, in one way, in that I thought my printer just was lousy. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to get the Explore prints to work better for everybody and without having to buy new printers. I thought I was going to have to buy a new one.
Julie, there's a question here from Handmade Cards. She wants to know, how did you get your heart graphic from Silhouette to make the cut? Did you do it by screenshot, and that will reduce the quality?
Well, yeah, the screenshot does only 100 DPI, but I used the same screenshot to do this as I did to do this. So I could blame it on the screenshot. I just used the Windows snipping tool, I believe. Oh no, no, I printed to PDF first. When you print from Silhouette Studio or from the Explorer and to PDF, Adobe PDF, I can set my resolution to 1200. So I set the resolution to 1200. Then I did a screen capture using the Windows snipping tool from that, so that I could. Oh no, wait. My memory is coming back. You know, I'm getting old. Make the Cut has the option to bring in raster PDF. So I got the PDF that I printed from Silhouette Studio, and from the PDF I used the PDF import and Make the Cut, and that automatically, if you click the bottom of the import screen, it shows you the click here in Blueprint because there's a raster image and it'll take you to the pixel trace. So it actually pixel traced my 1200 DPI image, and it came up with this very nice clean shot. So it produced this in the Pazzles Vue. It produced this. in Explore, and this in the design space, and then this was direct from the Silhouette Studio software at 600 dpi. So that might have made the difference. This was 600 and this was 1200.
All right. Not seeing any more questions or comments. So you can continue, Julie.
Okay, well, I think that's really all I had, because I've only had a day and a half to use this. I really appreciate Christopher's input and help, having been using this for a couple months where I've only had it for less than 2 days. So it gives me some ideas for more things to try, and then when I get all the Imagine cartridge images available next week, I'll have more opportunity to play with them and report. And again, I'm really encouraged by companies who will work on the problems that the users report, and it appears to me that Cricut is now trying to respond to the needs of the users. And so I have a lot of high hopes for what we will be able to do with the Explorer once the software issues get worked out. And I know new software always has lots of issues that have to be worked out, so I can be patient with that. Just with all the stuff that I've been reading, I wanted to encourage the Explorer users that you're not alone in some of these things. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that you need to be reporting. You need to be vigilant about telling the company responding to them about what issues you're having, so that they know that they're widespread and they'll work on it. That's a nice thing. I don't want to deal with a company that ignores the users. And I've dealt with companies like that before, and I just kind of stay away from them. So I do have a lot of hope for seeing improvements in the software, because the machine is worthy of good software. It really is a good cutting machine. If it were to cut a full 12 inches wide, I'd be even more excited about it. I am looking forward to being able to print bigger than the 6 by 8.5 from Firefox, so I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have tonight, unless there's more questions for me.
There's a question here from Susan, and this is for Christopher, off topic. Did you make that colorful lamp behind you, or did you buy it?
The colorful lamp that is behind me is actually the example lamp that I created based on another lamp that my sister had purchased for me. And on my Facebook page, you can actually get the SVG file for the pieces of the lamp. So the answer is yes. that was made from a file that I created in SVG for. I didn't know you guys could see that back there. It's usually on, so I don't think that everyone can usually see it because it's very bright. Are there any other questions? I'm trying to see here because I actually can't see.
Did you want to show us anything, Christopher, from the software?
I'm actually right now, as we speak, trying to figure out this love situation.
It's very confusing here.
Well, I actually was able to. I took off the red line from the Silhouette Studio software. You actually just have to ungroup it. It automatically comes in with a cut line. So I just removed that cut line off of it. For whatever reason, the designers of a lot of these images, they actually create the cut lines for the image that's being used. So I'm not sure why they do that with the cut line. So I removed the cut line around it. And at this point right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see, because right now it looks great on my screen, but I'm going to print it as we speak, and we're going to take a look at it together. because I'm not sure as to what it will look like once I print it, because I've never taken a silhouette image and brought it into Design Space. So we'll all kind of be we'll kind of see this together. I've never brought an image in. I know that Ken, who's normally with us, has a great video on how to do that with the screenshots and things like that. But this is my first time ever bringing a silhouette image in. So we'll see.
So what
I'm
I
usually,
did, I printed a PDF from Silhouette Studio. That way I got the high resolution.
well, then I'm not sure. How did you cut it then from? How did
So
you
I
cut
had
it with the Explorer?
I had to bring it in to make the cut um, to get it from the PDF to a PNG.
Okay, so when you brought it, I guess I'm confused. Whenever you took it into Design Space, where did you bring that from?
I brought it from the PNG.
Okay, and how did you created that PNG and make the cut then, you said?
Yeah, what I brought
Okay.
the PDF in to make the cut,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know if I could demonstrate with this. This computer is not mine.
Okay.
But I brought it in, make the cut. All you do is click on a PDF icon at the top of the screen, and once you click on that PDF and you select the image, well, it's a raster PDF, so there's a blue message that appears in the dialog that opens. It says you have a raster image. Do you want to trace it? So then I click on that message and it takes me to Pixel Trace. I just select texture, and then it automatically cleans up that image into a usable design. So I select it and export as raster PNG. And so that PNG I brought into Explore Design Space.
Okay. Yeah, I just did it straight from I'm doing a
So that kept me high resolution is the main reason I did it. And it gave me a nice PNG that was very clean in Design Space with a click, just single click.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I'm actually as we speak, I'm printing it just to see. The thing is, right now I don't have my Explore turned on, so it's looking for it. So I'm hoping we're gonna learn here. It should still print. That should not be a problem. But it's looking for my Explore. My Explore is actually downstairs in my office right now because I was using it down there. Because I luckily have more than one Explore. So my one that I use all the time is now downstairs. So that shouldn't make a difference though in the printing. So we'll see in a second then what's going to happen. Because I just did a screen print and brought it directly over to Design Space because I'm not really, whenever an image is that small, I'm not 100% worried about that resolution being over 150 to 200 simply because it's not going to make a difference. We're not going to see a difference when it's that small.
Hey, Christopher, what is your Facebook page name that people can go like your stuff?
Oh, it's Christopher A. Designs. That's all you'll need to type into Facebook, and you'll find I have a Facebook page as well as a Facebook page as well as a Facebook group, both of which I post the same things in. I was trying to get away from the actual group simply because it seems like it's harder to follow things in the group than it is to post things on the page. It seems like people are getting the updates a lot more. But I won't. I'm not planning on closing the group anytime soon, like I was previously, simply because I don't think it's necessary to close the group, I guess, at this point. And actually, I apologize. After the Facebook, it's Christopher A. Design, but you can just type in Christopher Allen Designs, and that will get you right to the Facebook. I just wanted to go ahead and double check it. So Christopher Allen Designs is all you type into the top. You'll get to the group or the page. You can like the page, and also you can join the group, and I'll be happy to add you.
Bertha, she wants to know, can you give directions on how to check the browser? She's like, I am using Chrome. Check the browser. What's she talking about? My internet went down.
I'm not sure what she necessarily means about checking the browser.
Maybe
I
she's
think she
talking
might
about
mean
the
the resolution, maybe.
the DPI. Yeah.
Yeah, for whenever I pulled up Chrome, it didn't actually give me an answer to that. So I'm not sure exactly why what that would be. I can do some research and figure that out for you, but at this point, I'm not sure exactly how to check that.
I gotcha. Carolyn, she says, Christopher, she said it does print without the Explorer connected.
Thank you. It just printed. So you are right. You are reading my mind.
Right.
It actually just came off of the printer, and I'm very happy to announce that it printed absolutely beautifully. So
that's the same file Julie has.
yep, and I just printed this from my Explorer. As you can see, it does still have the kind of funky silver lining that's around it. It fortunately does not have the pink around it like Julie said, but it looks like that bleed line isn't exactly where it's. I literally did this in 1 second. I didn't clean it up. I didn't do anything. I hit the magic wand, and I allowed it to just do its thing. So I didn't do any. Normally, I would clean this up and I would make sure that everything's very tight around it. But this looks absolutely stunning to me. So I'm thinking that maybe bringing it through that Make-the-Cut, kind of bringing it through all those different rollers and back around to get it to the Explorer may have been the issue that we had on your side, Julie, because I literally took a screenshot from the Silhouette, brought it directly into the Explorer, and I would definitely put this in a project. So I'm not sure what happened with that, bring that in, but we can probably kind of do some troubleshooting and figure out so that other people don't have that problem.
Handmade cards. She asked. She's like, Rob Leo SVGCuts has done a comparison of Silhouette Explorer and Eclipse. Any chance that we can have him on? Invites out there, but I think we're probably too small for him to want to come on the ScrappyDew live show. So maybe once we hit more than 3 people that come here, we'll send them another invite. Say, hey man, we just increased our percentage by 25%.
And Leo does a very specific comparison on his files. So I'm not sure what Leo has actually done with the actual software based upon what you can use. With the Silhouette files, as well as the Explorer or the Cricut files, as well as any of the other machines. So he would be great to have on if we wanted to talk specifically about SVGCuts. He did just release a video comparing the time that it takes for the SVGcut files to get into any of the systems, which you can check out. I think he just posted it on his Facebook. But again, I don't know if he would necessarily be the expert on what's going on in the files, but he would be great to tell us all about SVGCuts.
Yeah, he did do a time-lapse video. We all looked at it before we came on the show, and the thing I went into was that the Cricut Explorer did take the longest time to cut, but in the end, all cuts were the same. So I guess if you want to save 6 minutes, I think it was 6 minutes to complete the project. I think one finished in 13, and I think the Cricut ended up in 18 minutes. So
yeah, it takes in the defense of any of the machines, the SVGcut files do come with quite a few pieces. So it is, and I have used many of the SVGCut files. One of my very first projects that I created with the Explorer was the SVGCut box cards. They're very easy to do, but they do have a lot of pieces that are coming in. So it's going to take a little bit of time with each one, and with the what you're going to lose in the time that it is going to take to import everything with the Explorer. You are going to gain in the fact that the Cricut Explorer is able to do everything on a separate mat for you. With the Silhouette, you are going to do that mat, and then you are going to have to go to the next project, the next page that has that imported, and then cut that. Whereas with the Explore, all we have to do is keep loading in the mats. So that's our big difference we're going to have.
I think also the SVG files are needing all to be resized. So you have to keep the SVGCuts a document that tells you the size of each shape, and you need to resize each according to its specific shape as size, especially if it's a 3D project that requires perfect sizing. That takes a little bit of time, but it is nice that it's all kind of split up on the layers for you.
I mean, I wonder why they just don't put it all on one SVG and just let you resize it as a group. Yeah, just let you group it.
Some of the older projects were like that. I'm not sure why that changed. I think because they use the SVG machine a lot,
they use SureCuts a lot.
Okay.
And SureCuts a lot has pages that each piece can come in on pages, and you can use them. You can just cut the page and make the cuts the same way. So they may it may be easier for them to use that way.
Well, I know that the only program that does not bring things in, according to his video, is the only software that doesn't bring them in true to size to how they design them is the Explore. That's why they have that PDF file. It seemed as though whenever he brought them into the Silhouette, as well as I believe he was using the SVG machine? He didn't show the machine.
He's using the Eclipse.
Okay.
Eclipse did a great job, but also you'll find that in the Pazzles software, all the SVG files in a little bit too large, so they have to be resized in the Vue software, and they have to be resized in the Explore software. Those are the two that I've found so far.
Okay, yeah, because I know with the Silhouette, and they must do their like original testing or something. And again, this is a question that I wish he could answer within the Silhouette, simply because they come in beautifully in the Silhouette software.
I'm thinking that they use Illustrator. They use a 72 DPI for their sizing, and Inkscape uses a 90 DPI.
Yeah.
So you can tell that the software that they're coming from by the resolution and how they import into software. Make the Cut makes that adjustment automatically, no matter where it came from. It always resizes it perfectly. I like to import it in there and then export it, and it imports fine into every software except Explore now.
Okay. Yeah, he said that he has a request out to the Cricut ProvoCraft family to get that adjusted.
They should be able to do it.
Handmade Card, she just says nice work, Julie. Very thorough. I'm not seeing any more. We do have Susan Uncle. She wants to know. She doesn't have Facebook. You can't get the SVG of the lamp, Christopher.
Susan, send me an email to Christopher@ChristopherADesigns.com, and I'll send it to you.
Send it to me too.
Oh, I'll send it to you too. Yeah, I was creating a tutorial on it, and I realized that the tutorial was taking forever. And every time that I would redo something or I would watch what I had done previously, I was confusing myself. So in lieu of not doing that, there are 1,000,010 videos that are already out there that I wish I would have known about first. Someone on my Facebook page actually brought that to my attention, and I wish I would have known that before I tried to create everything from scratch. So there's 1,000,000 videos. You can just look up puzzle lamp, or there's a couple of different names for them. I also have uploaded, it's an image of the different configurations of the patterns, and the sizing for the image can be anything your heart desires. If you want to make a little lamp, you can do it at, say, 2 inches. If you want to make a big lamp, you can do it at, 8 inches. It's completely up to you, and the sky's the limit with the lamps. But at this point, I have just been able to provide the file. There is not going to be a tutorial that comes out on it, simply because it is just taking way too much time to figure out how I'm going to explain each and every step I like to be very thorough and very simple in my tutorials, and I can't do that with this one. So I wanted to at least make sure that everybody had the perfect SVG to cut out, as well as an image that I was able to pull from my friends at Puzzle Lamps to actually give to everyone and use to figure out the patterns.
All right. I'm not seeing any more comments or. Yeah. So I guess we can wrap this up. You know, it's been about 2 hours, I think. 2 hours. I do appreciate everyone coming out, taking a look. We did have a lot of people come out today. A lot of good comments. I appreciate that. We'll be back again next week. Ken will be back with us, so you'll see his beautiful face again. All right, but I did want to tell you guys that SVG Library did come out with a new version 1.2. Make sure you go check that out. If you did purchase it, go ahead and up at the top right there should be a little check mark. Click on that. That will take you to the download link so that you can go ahead and download the brand new program. I made a video showing you every single thing that's new with it. But a lot of great things for that SVG library. So go check that out, dash12.com, if you have not purchased that. All right. We'll see you next week. Okay. Any last words, Christopher?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for coming and watching.
All right. No slogan to end it.
I'll actually use a Ken of Kens Kreations slogan because he is not with us today. So he would say, "Get out there and create something magical."
All right. Thanks again,
appreciate
Julie.
that.
Thanks a lot, Julie, for coming, and Michelle, thank you as well. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Okay. Bye.